OpenAI have released another model, GPT 4.5. It's their newest and largest model, which I wanted to take a look at when it comes to programming and web design. If you're planning on using it, you should be aware that you'll need the $200 version of GPT Pro. And if you're thinking of testing out the API, be aware it's extremely expensive right now, sitting at around $75 per a million input tokens and $150 per output tokens. This is around 500 times more expensive than OpenAI's mini models, which is quite insane. Though it'll probably stop people from distilling their own deep models if they're seeking to do so right now. So don't just go and plug it into Cursor or some other coding IDE unless you're using it for testing. Since it's OpenAI's largest model, OpenAI are still evaluating if they'll provide a long-term API use for it. GPT 4.5 is designed to be more general purpose, with a goal of reducing hallucinations and giving clearer responses to queries, almost like a human. Being trained with a combination of supervised fine-tuning as well as reinforced learning with human feedback. It has around the same context length as GPT 4o with a context window of 128,000 tokens, and the same cutoff as the previous model, which is October 2023. People have already showcased how it's a little bit better at providing responses to tasks that are more day-to-day in nature, while others show that when it comes to programming, results may vary. So for the next part of this video, I want to see how it performs at web design and programming tasks personally. One item that previous GPT models didn't do very well was create SVG images. However, 4.5 seems to perform quite well at this task. Here's my website on Wix Studio. I created 3 exports for each model from OpenAI, from O3 Mini, GPT 4o, and 4.5. You can see that the worst model here is the O3 Mini, with its OWL version almost looking at me sideways. The next best one is GPT 4o, and the 4.5 model does a pretty good job at an OWL, but personally I still like the versions from GPT 4o. I tried another one here for Kirby, with O3 Mini again producing the strangest version of a Kirby I've seen to date. 4o did a pretty good job, and 4.5 again did a good job, but I still prefer 4o. I did see people on Twitter get mixed results, so I tried one more test with Doraemon, and here you could actually see that GPT 4.5 did the best, combining shapes like lines and circles to create the most realistic version of this character that I've seen from all the other models. Now to test GPT 4.5 in terms of web design, and I'll see how it compares to previous models. I've got this wireframe for a mockup of a website, and I'm going to try and get each one of these models to create the HTML and CSS for it. One thing that I have noticed is that chatgpt 4.5 is a lot slower, most likely because it's a larger model. Here's what the original wireframe looked like. I've copy-pasted the code from each model and plugged it into Chrome. On the right here, you can see GPT 4.5, GPT 4o, and O3 Mini. Each OpenAI model has done a pretty good job at replicating the layout, titles, text, and colors, though there are some differences. From this comparison, I think GPT 4.5 did the best, with buttons that are nice and curved, the right position for different text elements, and while it's missing a reference image, whereas the other models placed a box placeholder, I think it did the overall best job in terms of this design. For the next test, I've got this web design that I've been editing, and I wanted to see what kind of feedback ChatGPT 4.5 can give me on it, based on the design I have right now, to see if I can improve its overall look and style. This is a similar prompt to ones I've used on previous models, which haven't done very well. I was pleasantly surprised with the results because this newer model of GPT 4.5 definitely was able to give me more direct feedback specific to the design, such as the mismatch of padding, or the fact that the call to action, which is the shop button, wasn't outlined, so it wasn't very clear or visible, or even the fact that the navigation wasn't very clear because there were no menu items, just a hamburger bar. And finally, the fact that I was using harsh reds, which might not be very compliant in terms of accessibility. And here's my final web design test, which is one that has lots and lots of mistakes, and I always try to see which models can identify all of them. Previous AI and ChatGPT models identify one or two, like a spelling mistake or maybe a button that says contact you instead of contact us, but this one identified all of them, including the randomly placed hyperlink, the floating image which I have on the bottom of the screen, the general layout and positioning of items which really have no visual hierarchy, and a few other things. A final note of warning, if you are planning to use it inside of Cursor, you can do so right now, but just be aware that this model is large and expensive. And based on the size of your context window and the kind of prompts you're looking to generate, it might end up costing you $2 or $3 per request, which could add up to a lot of money if you don't keep track.